All right, well, oftentimes we take on a specific topic with my next guest from the world of financial and retirement planning, but today we're going to kind of take a step back. We're going to have a more broad discussion. Once again, I'd like to welcome retirement expert Cory Sickles of Safe Harbor for this sponsored segment. Always great to have you, Cory.
Glad to be here, Robin.
And we're going to talk about really the need and if people do need a financial planner. So let's start with that as a question, Cory. Do you think everyone does need someone?
I would think the majority of people do.
Okay.
The first thing I would probably say is when we start talking about money, there's talk about your retirement, you need knowledge, you need specific knowledge, and it's also time consuming, right? And when you really sit down and you start talking with clients, they might have multiple accounts, they have different risk levels. Some of the decisions you make today could have an impact on your taxes later. Social Security is a big part of it. I can keep adding on things that you really need to be able to make sure that you understand when you start talking about retirement.
And then to that end, would you say, it doesn't matter then maybe so much on their income or the stage of their career, or does it by the time they need to make that call and start?
I always say this, if you don't have a plan today, you need to have one tomorrow. And really the only way to do that is to sit down with an advisor. The earlier that you start planning, the less you're really going to have to save in the long run. It's difficult. You graduate from college, maybe you start having a family, then you start having kids, and children are expensive, but you still need to be able to save when you're in your 20s and 30s and early 40s. And an advisor can show you, maybe how to pay, some of your, if you have student loans, pay some of your bills, how to purchase that first house, and more importantly, how to save as well as still do all the daily things that you need to do as well as pay for.
Yeah, it's difficult. And I'll tell you, kids are expensive. There you go. I got a couple. All right. And for someone who does it all on their own, Cory, and tries maybe that set it and forget it, right? Like I'm putting it into this targeted account and then here I go, I'm taken care of. And what do you see in regards to that?
Well, what I would probably say with that is, one of the things that we do at Safe Harbor is, we have money managers that professionally manage your money. So we're making decisions on a daily basis based upon what could be market conditions, but more importantly, we're also making sure is that fund, the 2030 fund, the right fund for you, based upon your risk level. So we're looking at your risk level, and we're going to be able to, try to get you in a more diverse portfolio. And kind of as you age, you're going to probably become a little bit, less risky, and you want to make sure that your portfolio is following that. Which is, if you have an advisor, we can do that. But more importantly, we're going to meet with you regularly. As things change, things do happen.
Yeah.
And we're going to be able to help, guide you to make the right financial decision as well.
And you talked before, I know we've mentioned that you provide other services. So if you're talking to somebody, it's not just the investment piece, which many people think of when it's a financial planner, right? But other things.
That's correct. So of course I handle the financial, but we also have access to an attorney to make sure that you have a will, or do you need a trust? If you want to do Medicare type planning, we have Medicare specialist. We also have access to CP. You have access to a CPA when you actually work with Safe Harbor, because you're going to need all those things as you today you're going to need them, but as you get closer to retirement, you're going to want to make sure that you have access to those type of people, because in some cases those are big decisions, and you need to make sure that you're working with someone that has that ability to help you.
And is that the case for everyone, even if they don't have a large sum of money, or they aren't maybe saving as much as they hope to right now, right? And they think, well, I'm not going to call someone because I've got peanuts, going into my savings right now. What do you say in that regard?
Well, first of all, the peanuts could grow into bigger peanuts, right?
Yeah.
But here's what there's a lot of firms out there that only work with, you have to have a certain amount of investments. We don't have a limit on that. We just kind of feel that everyone needs the help.
Yeah.
And sometimes the worst, it's not the worst thing, but the hardest thing to do is just to get started.
Yeah.
Right? I think a lot of people are afraid to come in and sit down with us. They might feel like they're embarrassed or whatever that might be. But we don't look at it that way. We look at your current situation, and we're going to try to get you in a better situation, whether it's 10, 20, 30, or 40 years from now.
And how do you know if your planner, if your advisor is working in your best interest? That's another term we've brought up that not everyone is familiar with.
Yeah, so one of the things you would always want to ask your advisor is, are they a fiduciary? And if they're a fiduciary, then they're working in your interest, not in their own best interest. And there's a lot of advisors out there that might only be, have what we call suitable or suitability. And basically, any product's good for you, but is it truly the right product for you? And the other part of it is, do I get paid a higher commission if I put you in this type of product? So if you're working with a fiduciary, then they're going to make the right decisions for you. And I do think most advisors out there try to do the right thing, but I think it's a question you need to ask. We're registered investment advisors at Safe Harbor, so we're required to be a fiduciary for our clients.
All right, and I want to let people know too, there's no risk, no obligation, no pressure. You can sit down with Cory and his team, complimentary, to have a consultation, just see where you stand, and that's always going to be a good thing. SafeHarborOH.com will get you started. Cory, thank you.
Thank you, Robin.